Hi, I'm Katie Landon with the Los Angeles Times. This week in Southern California, crime took front and center of the news. I'm here with Jason Wells, the assistant city editor here, and he's here to break it all down for us. Hi, Jason.
How you doing?
Thanks for joining us today.
Of course.
Let's start in South LA, where life seemed to imitate art when an actor allegedly shot and killed his wife. Can you tell us what happened there?
Yeah, Michael Jace was arrested on suspicion of shooting his wife to death Monday night while their two children were in the home. Most people probably know him from his time on the FX show The Shield, but he's played a lot of cop-type characters on TV over the years. So, yeah, as you said, life kind of imitating art in a sad way.
For sure. Where does this stand right now? I heard his arraignment was postponed.
Yeah, he was going to be arraigned yesterday on a murder charge, but that was postponed till early June.
I see.
Until then, their kids are staying with family members, and we won't know too much more about the case that prosecutors are building against him until the next court hearing.
So what has the scene been like in the neighborhood? What have reporters said they saw?
Well, I mean, as is usually the case with these sort of high-profile incidents, neighbors are shocked. Right. I think one described them as the sort of Huxtables of the neighborhood. He was always seen walking the dog, playing with his kids. So you can imagine, neighbors just couldn't really square what happened Monday night with what they knew of the family for several years.
Sure. Okay, let's move to South LA, where a woman was arrested for allegedly killing her 3 children. Kate Mather, who was on the team reporting on this, is joining us live in studio here. Kate, can you tell us everything about this story, please?
Right, so this was one of probably the most shocking headlines and stories that we covered this week. Tuesday night, authorities allege a 30-year-old stay-at-home mother stabbed her children, her 3 little girls, ages 2.5, 16 months, and 2 months, and then stabbed and sliced at herself before her mother walked in and found the scene. So investigators, began their investigation on Tuesday night, and we've been covering it since then.
What have your colleagues seen in the field there? What was the scene like when the night of the murder and in the following days?
Well, we had reporters on scene as early as Tuesday night and then there throughout the day on Wednesday. And like Jason said earlier, it's another situation where neighbors are shocked. There were a few eyewitnesses who saw the mother of the woman accused as well as the woman's husband screaming at the scene. They really had some, just very sad accounts of the reaction of the family members when they came across that scene. There was a vigil at the home on Wednesday night. The father of the girls was there, and he was obviously very, very distraught and upset by what happened.
I see. What can you tell us about what investigators are looking into? Did she have any mental illness in her past?
There were no early indications of her background, but investigators said, of course, that was something they were going to look into. Obviously, one of the big questions on the list was perhaps whether this woman might have suffered from any sort of postpartum depression. Her youngest daughter was born only 2 months ago. So investigators did say that they were going to look at her medical history and her mental health and try to see if they could piece together what might have led up to these alleged actions.
Okay, thanks for joining us today, Kate.
No problem.
Okay, Jason, moving back to you. Let's look at what happened in Orange County in a case where a man is accused of kidnapping a girl since she was 15. That was 10 years ago. What's happening there?
Right. So, as if the week's news couldn't get any crazier, this story came out midweek when a woman, now 25, walked into a Bell Gardens police station and started telling police the story about how she was kidnapped when she was 15 by a man and held essentially captive for 10 years. She only apparently got the courage to come forward after tracking her sister down on Facebook. Now, not a lot is known about the woman's identity. She has a 2-year-old child with her alleged captor. He was identified as Isidro Garcia. he has since been arrested and charged with a number of counts, including kidnapping and other sex crimes. He was also due to be arraigned this week, but that was put off. And so right now it's just sort of this crazy story about how, a woman could have been held captive for 10 years, allegedly, and had, never had the courage to come forward or make her situation known, especially when she appeared to be surrounded by neighbors, active in her neighborhood, friendly. Her and this man apparently went to Disneyland, went on trips together. She had the autonomy of having her own car. So there's a lot of questions out there yet to be answered about, what exactly transpired over 10 years and what this woman's story is.
So another person with a high-profile case like this is Elizabeth Smart. What did she say yesterday about this?
Well, I mean, you've had over the last few days when the story broke, a lot of the neighbors saying, "Hey, wait a minute, this doesn't square up with what we've known for years of this family." I mean, she seemed happy. We threw her birthday parties, and not once was there ever a hint that she was being held captive. Then you've got police coming back and say, "Hey, look, when this allegedly happened, she was 15 years old, very impressionable, and they allege that this man used psychological and physical abuse to essentially, tame her and keep her captive." Elizabeth Smart came on to the Today Show on Thursday and saying, look, you guys, everyone thinks they know can't understand why she couldn't have just driven to the grocery store, driven to a police station several years ago, but until you're in that situation, until you've gone through that situation, you can't really know what kind of mental and psychological issues come with being abducted at such a young age.
Right. So do you have reporters down there right now? Where do we see this going in the next few weeks?
Yeah, we've had several reporters working the story in Orange County. Again, mostly trying to build a narrative around this woman's life and what transpired over the 10 years that she was allegedly held captive. Like I said, until prosecutors bring their case and proceeding court hearings, we're not going to know too much about what exactly they have built up against Garcia. But right now, it's just really trying to piece together what happened over the past 10 years.
Sure. Also in the news this week, kind of downbeat again, but also in the mix was this kind of strange stuff happening on the California coast. We had some fish die-offs and some whales that washed up ashore.
Also died off.
Yes. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, it's been a really rough news week when, animals dying and washing ashore is considered light news.
Right.
But yeah, over the weekend we've had thousands of anchovies who turned up dead in Marina del Rey. Mm-hmm. Scientists said they may have been spooked into the harbor, and they, for whatever reason, weren't able to find their way out, and so they essentially sucked out all the oxygen and essentially suffocated to death. Happy ending there. How
common is it?
I mean, it's not uncommon. I mean, it doesn't happen that often, essentially, but we've had a couple mass fish kill-offs along the California coast over the years, so it's not anything that's apocalyptic.
I see. And then the whales, what's the deal with that?
I know, it's so sad. Two whales washed up ashore on the California coast this week, one near La Jolla above San Diego, and then the other at Half Moon Bay. Now, we don't know how they died. Typically, whales sink to the bottom of the ocean before they ever reach a coastline, but these whales were apparently buoyant enough to make it to the coast, as you could tell by some of the pictures, and they're bloated. I don't even know what you call those, but yeah.
Right, and I've heard that sometimes they even blow up. It creates a spectacle. People are coming to the shore and taking a bunch of pictures.
It's great for YouTube, yeah. No explosions so far.
Okay.
Scientists today actually are going to perform a necropsy on the beach for the whale in Half Moon Bay. Obviously, these carcasses are too large to move to any sort of facility.
Sure.
But so it'll be a little while before we know what happened to these poor whales.
Right. Okay. Well, for the latest on these stories and more, go to latimes.com/LAnow, and we'll see you back here next week at noon.